Hi, this is Tara. I'm back again. I figured I would give a quick overview for people who are not familiar with what to do with a bag of wool you might have purchased at a fiber festival. You don't know why you purchased it. Everybody else is buying wool, so you figured, sure, I'll buy wool, sure. Now you got this bag of raw wool, and what do I do with this? Well, if you buy a fleece and it has not been skirted, you will need to skirt your fleece. What this is you're going to need to take the poopy parts off. That's basically what skirting is. Here's an example of my skirting table my husband built for me. Basically it consists of 2 sawhorses and a framed out bit of chicken wire. And then I add this nail here just to have somewhere to hang my bag of wool. That's some of my Shetland wool I'm keeping for myself this year, my little treat to myself. And then here's a close-up of the skirting board. So it's just chicken wire that is framed out. Pretty simple. Lets all the bad stuff out, keeps all the good stuff in. Alright, so the first thing I do is I dump the entire fleece out on the board, and then I start picking through it, getting rid of big chunks of nasty stuff. That's the first stuff to go. And then you can start weeding it down more and more to just pieces of hay, chaff, and stuff like that. Alright, so unfortunately at this time of year I've skirted most of my fleeces, but just to show you, I mean, it's still a little dirty because apparently my sheep wanted to get completely filthy this year, so a lot of my fleeces were definitely discounted. But you can see, even this girl, you can see bits of hay and stuff in it, and then you can go through and pick that out. Or at this stage, since I got most of the real big bits out, you can throw this through a picker. Now I personally don't have a picker. I would love one, so if you want to give me one, I'll take it. Haha. So here's another piece. See, you're gonna have pieces of hay. I mean, that's expected. I don't cover my sheep. Some people do, and that definitely helps with the amount of hay and junk you get in their fleeces. But I don't have the time or basically the energy and money to spend coating all my sheep. So just digging through it, you know, here's some nice crimp. That's what it looks like. So definitely when you get your fleece home, get it out, let it air out a little bit. I know plastic garbage bags are not the most ideal, but that's what I use, and usually they're gone by the time, and people are using them pretty quick, so they don't usually get stored in plastic for more than a couple months. So, and you always keep the tops open. Even though I use these plastic bags, it's not ideal. You know, it traps moisture in. You really have to sort of let your fleeces dry out, especially when you're done shearing. A fleece is going to have sweat and moisture and everything in there. And then when you let it sit for a while, don't close up your bags. Let them air out as much as possible. Get all that sweat and sheep ick out as much as possible. I mean, obviously you won't get rid of the lanolin in it, but it'll definitely keep your fleeces from really going to heck. Oh, here's a nice piece right here. So this is Jaja. She's one of my foundation ewes. Love her a lot. She's great. She gave me a nice fleece. I didn't keep any of this stuff for myself last year. I was kicking myself. So this year I'm allowing myself to keep some, mainly hers. So just for me. Now Shetlands are naturally, they don't have a lot of lanolin. So when you buy a raw fleece that's Shetland, you're actually buying more wool than you are lanolin. Now you'll notice if you go to some fiber festivals and stuff and you see merino bags or any really fine fleeced wools, they will be super heavy, so they're going to be really expensive because you're really paying for weight. Especially obviously raw wool, you're going to pay for per pound or something of that, or at least per ounce or something. And you're going to get more lanolin per pound than you are with Shetlands. Shetlands are very light in lanolin, but it's just enough. And it's actually Another bonus I love with Shetland wool is you can spin this raw really easily. It's got enough grease in it so you don't have to re-oil it or anything when you spin it, and it just feels great to your hands, and your hands get nice and covered and a nice moisturizer, that natural lanolin, and it's not too gunky to work with. So another bonus with Shetland. Okay, so I'm going to show you 3 types of wool I happen to have on site. One is from a Lincoln long wool breeder here in Delaware. Always support your local breeders. And the other 2 are from my sheep. One's going to be Shetland wool and the other one's going to be Cheviot wool. Alright, so here's a quick look at 3 different types of wool that I have. This one right here is Shetland. This is Zsa Zsa's wool. I'll get up close. Hopefully this focuses. Focus, focus. It's very light, fluffy stuff. Not very thick in lanolin or anything. This one right here is Lincoln long wool. Straight raw Lincoln long wool from Debbie's sheep. See, this is also multicolored, but look at those cool locks on these. Now this is more of a rougher feel. This is more like a rug yarn feel, but you know what? I made gloves out of this stuff and it was a heck of a lot of fun to spin. But this is more advanced spinner stuff. I'm learning, now I'm not, an expert spinner, but I've definitely found that different types of wool will, be different feels, and different types of textures will be different for every spinning thing you do. Basically, this is advanced wool. This would be for advanced spinners. The wool does not grab on itself very well. It must not have as many barbs to it as natural wool does. But I found it a lot of fun to spin, but it definitely takes a little bit of practice because otherwise it'll tend to pull apart when you spin it. But good stuff. I mean, a good pair of gloves with this stuff. And this is Cheviot. Now this looks a lot like, at least at first glance, like Shetland, but it definitely has a different feel to it. It's a different, it's a little rougher feel to it. But this, I would say Cheviot is one of the easiest wools to learn on. If you're just learning how to spin, Cheviot just locks to itself real easily, spins up real easy. Good stuff. And this is actually really good really good sock yarn. And of course it's white, so you can dye it easily enough, although I'll over dye. I don't care if it's got gray on it or whatever. That makes it more fun to dye. So I don't really care if it's white or not. You can see this also. Good long staple on her. You can see the little waves in it, the crimp. It's called crimp. So if you're a very, very newbie beginner, even with a drop spindle or anything, Cheviot, I would suggest, is really easy to learn on. That's how I learned, and it really made my life a lot easier. Long wool will be a little more challenging. It doesn't really, it's more slick. It's more of a slickery kind of wool. Shetland is actually pretty easy to work with too. This grabs itself pretty well, and you can get really, really, really fine with this. This you can get, this is what, one of the things Shetland is famous for are the lace weight shawls that you can pull to a wedding ring. That's one of the calling cards for Shetland. So you can get real fine wool with this, and it's real soft. Good. This is good next to skin stuff. This is not necessarily good next to skin stuff. It depends how tolerant you are. There's not a lot of lanolin in this either. This is pretty dry for what it is. Good stuff. Still good stuff. Cheviot, I would say, at least my Cheviots, have about the same amount of lanolin as Shetlands do. So you are actually going to be able to spin this in the raw if you need to, if you don't feel like washing it. That would work just as well for Cheviot as it would for Shetland. I've never tried to spin long wool yet, as far as in this state, so that'll be a learning experience for me. I did spin a bunch of this. It was already carded up for me, so this one is my learning experience right here. But there you go. Little overview, some different types of wool. Definitely doesn't cover the whole gamut. There's a lot to learn about wool.